Dr. Chris Smith is a consultant virologist and he joins me live from London. Welcome to the programme. Dr. Chris, I'm a bit scared about this subject. You're in London, I'm from London. I spent so much of my childhood talking about the plague, going to see where the Great Fire of London started. And, I want to cut to the chase. How worried should the world be about a possible return of the plague?
Well, it's very much in the present in the sense that it may not be the Black Death that we have to contend with, but just look around you. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've been effectively completely enthralled to an infectious disease. That was COVID. And before that, we had worries about Zika virus. Before that, we had the Ebola crisis, and Ebola is rearing its ugly head again in Uganda right now. Before that, we had swine flu, and then the first outing of SARS, all in the last 20 years. The pace at which these new diseases are emerging and spreading is really quite alarming. There's just been an announcement that £2 million has been put up by the UK government to investigate monkeypox, because we've seen around the world nearly 100,000 cases and in 100 countries of that, where previously we'd only had a handful of them.
But Chris, why? We've made so much advances with medicine over the past centuries, right?
Yes, indeed. But what we've also done is to encroach on every corner of the world. There are now about 8 billion people on Earth. And when I first started making television and radio programmes about 20 years ago, there were about 6 billion. So we've put up the population of the human race in the last 2 decades by about 30%. The rate at which we are growing and urbanising and bringing people into conflict with nature, as well as changing the environment through things like climate change, means the opportunities for new diseases to emerge, spread and exploit us in new ways is continuing to evolve, change and accelerate. And that's why really this is an important issue.
So back to the possible plague outbreak, how big a threat is that?
Well, we're not so worried about the plague in terms of it coming back as the Black Death. What we're really seeing highlighted in this research paper that you're covering, which is out in the journal Nature this week, is that scientists have been able to point the finger at the Black Death and say the reason that the Black Death made a big mark on humanity isn't just because it wiped out up to a half of the population of Europe at the time, a few hundred years ago. But what it also did was to leave genetic fingerprints in the population, because it selected from the population people who had particular genetic makeups that gave them protection against that threat, but has paradoxically led to them being more susceptible to other diseases in the meantime. So and those other diseases are things like autoimmune conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and an inflammatory condition of the bowel called Crohn's disease.
So that's all linked to the Black Plague. Then, can we get immunity from this resurgence of diseases and viruses that are there? And can we even get the possible vaccines in time? We've seen it done with COVID.
Well, yes. I mean, the key thing here is to be aware of what the mechanisms are, why these new diseases emerge, how they spread, how they exploit our modern lifestyles. It will really surprise most people to realise that if you stopped time and totted up how many people are aboard an aeroplane flying around the Earth right now, it's more than 1 million people. And with that many people, that mobile, that quickly, diseases can spread in the blink of an eye. And so we need to be keeping pace with the rate of change of our modern lifestyles, because diseases are exploiting those modern lifestyles in terms of how they get about. So we need better ways to monitor for them and spot them before they become a threat. And part and parcel of that is also better information sharing around the world. At the moment, we're very good at keeping our doors closed and our mouths shut. We need to be much more open with people all over the world, sharing data so that we can keep tabs on where diseases are going.
I hope many lessons have been learned from COVID, a global pandemic. Dr. Chris Smith, a consultant virologist, speaking to us live from London. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Great to have you on the programme.